All right, everybody, we're about to start in about a minute. So, as part of it, we felt it was really important for us to have communication or to have conversation with the artists who were featured in the exhibition, of which we had from across the Caribbean.
I said before, we know Carnival and Resistance in the same conversation. If you go Notting Hill, and they may know about that. They spend how much money to jump, and it's done. But we believe that the work we're doing is not just the street theater, but it's through the music, through other events, and just holding the line, coming to Cadiz and speaking on these things to remind people that Carnival is more than just the masks and the feathers, which we love, but we want to remember that it came from a place of resistance. And as you always say, it wasn't supposed to be here. So the mere fact that Carnival exists tells me that it's a reminder that even with, for example, in terms like AI and the creation of AI and the new algorithms they're writing and all the meetings they're having with the president and all the tech bosses, they're literally writing black skin out of AI. So soon AI will not be for you, right? So that's a scary thing because AI is very powerful. But back in 1881 and them times, and especially in the Black American experience, there were things that we wasn't supposed to survive either, but we did. So because of Carnival, I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we'll survive AI too as a people.
Oh, Annie was the artist who had done the beautiful artwork in the House of a Thousand Machetes, and she worked really hard in terms of getting all the calligraphy right, in terms of telling a story through lettering, and then incorporating through her Haitian her heritage, the veves and so on. But what I would ask you, what did you feel when you were reading through some of the colonial records and the things that they were saying? How did that make you feel in terms of applying that to your art?
I was seeing a lot of repetition in all of their language. Like they would use these giant words, but I felt like despite them using these long statements, they almost said nothing. To know that these words were letters, were put into law, it made me think about how they saw themselves from a sense of power, the colonial forces. And for the most part, they did, the material-wise. But where I saw our power was in our spirit, is in our spirit. Everyone's gonna have their own experiences, but leading from it, at least I can speak in my own experience, just feeling empowered. We make the decision time and time again to be present, to create new traditions, to take from previous ones.
When Annie came, when I think it was Sabine mentioned, hey, we want to be able to put these quotes up there, and Sabine said, we have somebody in our camp that's an artist, and she was interning with Caddy, and to see how she created such beautiful work and the dedication and the resilience in that, it's absolutely tremendous. So to see the final product, we're so proud of you just for coming through Caddy and being an artist on this exhibition. We're really grateful that you were able to be with us.
I'm an interdisciplinary artist. I love working with textile and found objects, seeing how spirit lives in everything from on the discards, a broken bottle and old t-shirts. That's a lot of my work. But yeah, working on this with the mural, it's making me think a lot more about language, and I can see that coming in more.
My name is Sandra Morris Bell. I'm a Morris from Belmont, Trinidad and Tobago, and I say that because everybody on my daddy's side, the Morrises, are artists, and I just happen to get that DNA some kind of way, and I'm hoping to pass it on to my grandchildren and children. So this piece, the Ndunga, it's from the Congo. And this Ndunga is a masquerade that's generally worn by men, and men that you don't know who is inside of the masquerade, number one. Those masquerades are brought out not just one, 8 and 10 at a time. In the villages when the residents are committing crimes against each other or other villagers from other places, they appear at different ceremonies. Could be a wedding, could be a funeral, it could be anything like that where there's lots of people gathered around. So they come out, not as large as the one that's at the center, the gallery, a little shorter, maybe 8 feet, but 10 of them would come out all at once at your party, your birthday party. You want to know, like, what the hell? They don't say anything. Nobody gives you a warning. It's an indication that you better get yourself together, that you better stop committing whatever atrocities against each other. So everybody gets that message. When they move through your party or whatever it is you're having, you know exactly what you have to do. Straighten up and fly right.
Fiona mentioned earlier that you are the head of the largest Juve band. And because we spoke so much about Juve and resistance, we wanted to get from your perspective what Juve means to you, how it's represented through the work that you're doing, and just more about your band and the things that you are doing.
Well, I love me some Juve, I have to tell you. I just have to go back just a little bit. When I was born in Belmont, I was born in Port of Spain. I grew up with my uncles and my aunties, my grandmother. These were the artists that I grew up with. It was a mass camp. And when my mom forced me to come to America, which was a terrible thing for me, because I was so happy in Trinidad. And I grew up old enough to make some money to go back to Trinidad to help my Uncle Ken Morris, my cousin Glendon, who just passed away, who made that mask that you see on that masquerade. He just passed away June 11th. And I will go and help organize, because I love to organize things. Okay? Straighten up, organize, tell everybody what to do. Did I hear a comment from the Peanut Gallery? So they would love for me to come down there, but I would be working in that mass camp as soon as I got to Trinidad. But when I heard that bell, that piece of iron, somewhere in the hills of Belmont, bang, 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 I dropped everything. I said, Uncle Ken, Auntie so-and-so, so I got to go. It's Juve morning. I just loved being in the steel band and seeing the all mass, and just, it felt like a freedom, which was different from the mask that my uncles and them designed. It was Peter Mincho, it was just everybody, Stephen Leung, all the beautiful, all of that. But Juve always got to my heart, and everybody understood that I'm gonna find my slipper and I'm going down the road and joining the steel band, whichever steel band it is.
Yeah. You said so you're not from Haiti, but for those who have never been to Haitian Day Parade, what is it that makes it so powerful, and why did you feel compelled to capture it?
I would just say the pride, and I was just talking to Stephanie on the side about just replaying that day in my mind. The pride, the energy, the joy that was on the faces of every single person that was there, whether they were in the parade, whether they were on the side cheering on the people on the floats. It was just a tremendous expression of freedom and jubilation that I think it's hard to capture in words. That's why I take my camera with me, because I could speak better through images sometimes. And yeah, I just think that every photo kind of just told its own individual story. The ones that ended up in the exhibition were chosen for the story that they told, but like everybody that was there kind of just exuded pride, energy, excitement, and they were there to rep, and they certainly did that. I believe in photography as a tool for healing, and through visual storytelling and through displaying complex narratives about Black life and Black experience, we can begin to help heal, we can begin to help people create an understanding of our experiences and what we've been through and where we're at now and where we're going. So what compels me to capture festivals such as that parade is just, it's an opportunity to continue to tell that story and continue to document important moments in our history and in our present that will be looked back on hopefully in the future to get a better understanding of like, you know, where we were and how we got to that point. So the story is what pulls me there. The community is what powers me and gives me the energy to find those moments and those little hidden gems that I think tell deep and reflective stories about what's going on. The colors, the movement, you know, gesture is a big part of storytelling and images. So it's like the gestures and like everyone's body movement, what they're wearing, the costumes, everything, all of it comes together, I think, to sort of captivate you and evoke an emotion, you know, and I think that's what the point of it is. They're telling a story, they're trying to evoke an emotion, and my job as a photographer is to do my best to just encapsulate that into an image.
When we were putting together the people that we could work with, and you know, we got recommendations from Caddy, and our first Zoom call with Stephanie was so enthusiastic, like, yes, I could get this, I could get that. And let me tell you, Stephanie has worked so hard with her contributions, because there are 3 masks that you see hanging in the floating jumbie section that was specially made and in Haiti and flown across, and there was all kind of drama to get the mask. And every day Stephanie called, it's coming, but this airline did this, and it's coming. I'm calling the airport, I'm going to the airport. And Stephanie worked so hard to make sure that you know, Haiti was represented in this way. The pieces that were made, could you, because I know that they have a lot of significance, and could you explain to the audience about what they mean?
Yeah, sure. So first, the designer's name is Michel Chatang. I had the opportunity to work with Michel Chatang, who celebrated 40 years of design and fashion last year in New York City. Yeah, excellent, thank you. Michel was the costume designer for the Haitian Heritage Parade that took place in Manhattan in 2023. And okay, I saw you there, you was there. And so when I told him there was an opportunity to include, you know, what we did in 2023 in this exhibit, he was very excited to participate. And so we did brand new headpieces based off of what we did in 2023 for this show. So they didn't exist anywhere until here, so you will only see it here. But what they represent today, like they did on Central Park West in 2023, they represent secret societies within Haitian Vodou. The secret societies represented by those pieces are Bizongo, right? Vlen Bledeng, and Champuel, right? And so all of these societies, you can think of them as a melange of people tribunals who decide whether or not the person who is bringing the plaint deserves justice or not. You have Champuel, who kind of are shape-shifting entities who exact justice in the middle of the night, or they serve as surveillance. And then, of course, in Buzango, you have a mix of sorcerers and the people who actually create the potions and those justices. All of the masks are made first with papier-mâché, which is very big for us in Haiti. And also, Carnival in Haiti has a culture of fabric. So we use fabric on everything. So first it was the papier-mâché, and then they're all overlaid with fabric, and then there are natural elements placed on them.
We can't tell the story of Carnival, Resistance, Joy, Revelry without speaking about Haiti. How do you see the Caribbean working to bridge the gap as it relates to Haiti in our expression, in the work we do, in Carnival, and just showing up in the world?
Yeah, I think so my recommendation every time for people who want to learn more about Haiti, is to find your root there, because all of our ancestors were there, you know. I was just having a conversation about Bois-Caïman, right? It's the ceremony that launched the Haitian Revolution August 14, 1791. And we're talking about 200 to 300 maroon, indigenous, you know, enslaved folks who some didn't even speak the same language. And all they know is that we gotta get free, right? And so the reality of that ceremony, it's been demonized for a reason, because they don't want you to find the utility of that story. The reality of the situation is that people who didn't share the same language, they all came from all kinds of places, but they knew that freedom was the goal. They were willing to put aside whatever differences so they can find a commonality. And because of that fact that event happened, you in fact have a root. You can be from North Carolina and have a root in Haiti, because somebody's maroon ancestor was there dropping water next to mine. So I'm saying, like, there is that what we can do now is really just try to find our identity in the story. So it matters where you get your information from. It matters that when someone says, hey, Haitian people eat dogs and whatever else, it's your job at that point to then go look it up. It's your job at that point to go clear the story up for yourself, because there's a lot of narratives out there. But we have to know that no one works this hard to destroy a narrative of a people if they were powerless. You know what I mean?
Mic drop, jeez.
So yeah, okay, one time in the air, Sabine, you know how I was coming. You knew how I was coming.
All the things we were uncovering and doing, some by accident and some very intentional, really became, we became a place, a home, a platform for highlighting the common thread we share as people of African descent. So my family's Afro-Puerto Rican, we have Trinidad, we have Antigua, we have Jamaica, all in the city of New York that was still even referring to us as minority. And we still refer to ourselves as minority when we're in fact the majority population of this city, this state, and this country. And when we started this work, it was started with the notion that, one, we shared more in common than different, particularly our root culture in Africa. We understood quickly that, you know, we don't separate spirituality from all that we do, because we're a very spiritual people. And again, in my welcome at the firehouse, I was saying, you know, we're not even supposed to be here. The intent was to kill us off. Like, we're not supposed to be here, and yet we are. And so with the work of the organization and events like the exhibition we have now, we started the first Carnival in New York celebration at Lincoln Center in like the late 80s. Again, going back to the relationship with Sandra. When this was Lincoln Center out of doors, we still weren't in the halls of Lincoln Center, we were out of doors. And we did it, at least in Marta's intention, it was to bring our folks from throughout the city, which immediately became from the tri-state area, Jersey and Connecticut and even Philly, coming to a place that celebrated us, that you could see on a stage carnival traditions from Trinidad, you could see comparsas from Cuba, you could see Mardi Gras Indians from New Orleans on a stage and quickly see the connection, right? And so we did Carnival in New York for about 15 years at Lincoln Center before this concept of world music and global music became kind of the grounding of a lot of these festivals that are now Celebrate Brooklyn, Summer Stage, and Lincoln Center out of doors, right? We weren't, I'm not gonna say we weren't welcomed, but they weren't so ready to have us in their spaces until they started seeing the numbers of us showing up in their spaces. We drew out the largest audiences for Lincoln Center out of door for about 12 years. Of all of their events all summer, we were always the largest in numbers. And so the concept of bringing Carnival, or the concept of a Carnival event and treating our 50th year under the theme of Africarnaval, which is the theme of the year, was to take us back 50 years and all that we did in this work and bring it current. And so the notion of Carnival being more than a party, right? Understanding that this really is presentation and a celebration of our resistance, and that our culture is resistance, our presence is resistance, our joy is resistance, in a way that typically Carnival isn't talked about.